Well, it did go down to the wire. What a spirited effort by Team England. It just showed that they were the two top sides going head to head. And the final decider went down to pretty much the penultimate ball of the entire series. We've had the Tests, we've had the T20s, and we've had the one-day internationals. It's a clean sweep by India, but you'd have to say England more than played their part. For now, we'll look back at these three matches, which India won by 2-1 at the same venue in Pune. And what a finish we had. Just catch our breaths and have a look at the summary. 329 was what India put up after having lost the toss. It looked about 40, 50 runs too light. But the fact is, India showed some intent in getting there. They were dismissed inside the 50 overs. And England, well, it all started with having lost 2 wickets inside those 10 overs. The magic number for India, and they made it count just about. Just about a 7-run, a narrow 7-run victory for Team India, taking the series 2-1. The trophy was almost going through a bit of a tug of war in those last few overs. And what an effort by Sam Curran, falling tragically short of a well-deserved 100. I'm sure my guests have also caught their breath, Joy Bhattacharjya and Michael Vaughan. Michael, I can see you're sitting back a little more comfortably, and that would just be to acknowledge a spirited performance by Team England, if only they had not left it that late.
I'm just applauding. That was a tremendous game of cricket. England had no right to get close to that target. You've got Sam Curran strolling out there, Adil Rashid. The game was lost. We did our Cricbuzz Chaz at the 35 over mark, gave England absolutely no chance. But there's something inside that Sam Curran and Tom Curran, they've just got this mentality and this attitude that they never know when they're beaten. And to think that there's this young kid that's going out there getting 95 not out from 83 deliveries, 9 fours, and he was controlling the situation, not taking singles, knowing that he had to keep the strike. I just love what he brings to the England side. He doesn't always bowl brilliantly, he doesn't always bat brilliantly, but he's always adding something. There's always something happening when Sam Curran is involved in the game. Full credit to the England side. I have to say, from the Test series to the T20s and now the 50 over series, it's been an incredible series of matches to watch. Two teams that play it right. India have been too good. They've been better. You only have to look at India's fielding today. If they'd have fielded anything like, they'd have hammered England by probably 100 runs. And that's a real issue for the Indian side. I think that's been quite a constant over the course of the series. Test cricket, 2020 cricket, now 50 over cricket. As the fitness levels have gone up and Virat's driven that, I honestly don't think they field anywhere near good enough for what they should do. This should be such a better fielding side. And they just had one of those nights where everything seemed to be dropped. It was a bit of a comedy of errors towards the end there, but a brilliant game of cricket to watch.
It certainly was. And I know we've got a lot to look back on over the 3 formats, Joy. But since we're sticking to the end and Michael Vaughan's given deserved praise for Sam Curran, what about Natarajan bowling that last over? Because India obviously had to gamble with finishing Bhuvi out when he did, but it was still not done and dusted. Natarajan had to do the job.
Absolutely. I'll start first with Curran because, I was just thinking what Michael said. And the reason why I love Sam Curran is, his father, Kevin, played for Zimbabwe, which was been an underdog side. And they didn't even have status when they were playing ODIs in the 83 World Cup. And they were used to upsetting teams like Australia and all. Kevin Curran had that spirit. Kevin Curran, Duncan Fletcher, Edo Brandis, they will do things against top test side that nobody else does. And I think his son is just carrying on that tradition. Sam also doesn't know when he's beaten, And you have these fighters, they say, in prize fighting, that doesn't know when he's beaten. And I think that's exactly what Sam Curran is all about. And coming to Natarajan, to be given the 50th over under those circumstances with him striking the ball so well. And that's the time. Remember, when he came back for this last spell, he wasn't getting his Yorker right. The first one it just went into the slot and it completely disappeared. So this over, he just had to get that length right. And he did. He held his nerve, fortunately. And it's just a testament to the kind of spirit these kids have nowadays.
Yeah, Michael, and since Joy mentioned the Yorker, it's pretty much had to be in that zone because all Sam Curran needed was to get under the ball because he was seeing it big enough. So for a bloke who's in the 90s and you've been asked to prevent him from hitting a 6, You could either do what Trevor Chappell did all those years ago, or you could bowl the perfect Yorker.
Well, and it's a dying art. You know, you would have thought that in the era of white ball cricket being so dominant with so many leagues and 20 leagues around the world, and these players are playing so much of it, you would think that there'd be a lot of bowlers that can nail the Yorker, because it's still the hardest ball to hit right at the end. If you bowl it well, if you miss it, of course, you're going to go into the stands. But if you've got the skill levels and the calmness and the composure to deliver the Yorker under pressure, you go back to Latith Malinga, you know, Brett Lee towards the back end of when Brett Lee bowled. You know, there's still the hardest ball to get under, and that's what Sam Curran needed. He just needed a little bit of elevation to get it into the stands, and Natarajan held his nerve. He's got that kind of trajectory that's just a little bit lower and skiddier, and he angled it into the pads of Sam Curran. Brilliant bowling. You know, you can only think about the heart rate of Natarajan when he's thrown that ball and he's got to deliver that amount of skill with billions watching. I have to say full credit to both teams. And when you think of, you know, the Bayer bubbles, they're in a hotel all together, and then they've got to go and produce performances. I think they've delivered across the whole tour incredible drama, and the actual consistency levels of the teams and the performances of the players has been remarkable throughout the whole year, actually, of the pandemic. We've seen some wonderful cricket, so the players deserve a lot of credit for that.
They certainly do. And if we had to, again, single out individuals, we talked about Natarajan. Hardik Pandya was a reluctant bowler in a sense. He put his body to everything. He bowled beautifully. Shardul Thakur kept picking his wickets. But Joy, what about Bhuvi throughout the white ball series? Natarajan went for a few, but that crucial over mattered. Look at Hardik Pandya, who came and bowled 9 overs. We thought maybe they'd give him 4. What about Bhuvi? 3 for 42, hit for 14 in the first 5 balls by Jason Royer, thinking, is it not Bhuvi's day? It always is.
No, absolutely, which means he's 9 for 28. Effectively, after that, he's 9 for 28, and that's what he did. Fabulous bowling. For me, he is the man of the series. For me, he's the difference between these two teams. Because if you look at it, then lots of batsmen have got lots of runs. No bowler has consistently given the kind of returns that Bhuvi has given. And, you know, just look at these stats again from England, you know, just from where he started, 7.5, 7, 6.75, 7.5, and we are talking about a T20 format. I mean, that's a ridiculous. Then 3.75, 3.33, 6.3. I mean, these are staggering figures, and staggering figures considering teams have got 300 plus almost every time they batted in the one-day internationals and in T20s as well. So given the kind of runs that have been scored, these are absolutely brilliant figures, absolutely devastatingly good figures.
Yeah, I mean, you just look down that, the economy rate's obviously a little bit higher when it's T20s, which you expect it to be. But overall, you've complimented him before, Michael, every single time he delivered, and he was without his partner in crime. And despite that, he knew he had to do it from one end with less experience at the other.
Yeah, I agree with Joy. I think he has to be player of the series. When we're talking about batting and par scores being 350, you know, we talked earlier about India should have got to 370, 400 today. England chased down the 330 the other day in 42. And then you've got this 80 miles an hour skillful seam bowler that's going at less than 4s pretty much all the time. And picking up key wickets. He is, you know, I've said it this week, he is the most skillful white ball bowler in the world. You know, I don't know any other bowler that gets just the subtle movement like Bhubaneswar Kumar, and it's his calmness and it's his mindset, and he's always bowling the ball that the batsman least expects. You know, and his skill levels, particularly to those two England opening players that come out there hitting to get the ball angled back in. And it's not just the angle; he's getting movement. You know, he's getting that movement off the pitch, through the air, and he's restricting. And I thought that a real clever move that India produced today that they'd not done in the previous 2 games was bringing Rishabh Pant up to the stumps. You know, and that made Johnny Bairstow stay back in his crease. If Rishabh had stayed back, Johnny would have gone out of his crease, and he wouldn't have been out LBW. He'd been going over the top because he'd have met it that little bit sooner. So tactically, that was a smart move. But he is the most skillful white ball bowler, and it's always great when you see a player like him who's had difficulties with his injury to come back and to produce that standard straight away. It just shows you that he's made of the right stuff.
Certainly is. And Joy, we kept referring to some of the IPL franchises would be a little bit worried about the likes of Shreyas Iyer, Owen Morgan, Rohit Sharma briefly with that injury on the elbow. But the Orange Army will be delighted with with Bhuvi. Of course, he'll have kissed and made up with Johnny Bairstow by now. They'll be sitting on the sidelines over there going, okay, this is done and dusted. Come on now, let's get together in orange.
No, absolutely. I think his fitness has been, I mean, if you see the glory times of SRH, it's always been with Bhuvaneshwar dominating with the ball. And even 2 years consecutively, he was the highest wicket taker. He looks back to be in prime form. And this injury has worried him. And I remember chatting with him last year, and he said that one of his problems was he came back too quickly from injury and just aggravated his back again. And he said that this time he was planning not to make the same mistake. So he took a bit more time. In some ways, this, the whole pandemic helped as well because there wasn't that much cricket happening. He had time to rest. He had time to recover. And he's looking class of 2016, that Bhuvaneshwar Kumar again. And if he and Bumrah can keep going, that's bad news for other teams in the 2021 World Cup.
Certainly will be. But I'm just going to steal a phrase from you, Joy, which you were referring to for Bhuvi, which is take your time. Michael Vaughan, if we had to assess England's performance, 3 chases out of 3, they got 1 right. But in general, overall, can we conclude that their approach perhaps even backfired?
Well, they've won 3 tosses as well. Throughout the whole, Test, T20s and the ODIs, they've pretty much won most of the tosses. And they like to chase. They like to go out there and bowl, and they'll back themselves to chase pretty much anything that the opposition get. But they do play this aggressive, risky game. They do like to try and smash the ball into the stands all the time. It doesn't. It's no rocket science now that England are going to come out and play in that fashion. I just think when you play in India, and particularly in the World Cup in 2 years' time, if you over cricket, you possibly won't get wickets as good as this one, in every single game. And I don't think you win a World Cup by just playing one style of cricket. We saw that in 2019, England to win that final, and I know they had a bit of fortune. And the Ben Stokes run when it hit the bat and it goes to the boundary, the catch of Trent Bolt on the boundary. We won by boundary count. I know it was a bit fortunate, but they won the World Cup. But they won because they had to play quite smartly in the final, because it was a low-scoring game and they had to just hang in there. And Josh Butley in particular just played a smart innings. So I do think that they can play different ways. You don't have to look at the last 10 overs today, actually, with Sam Curran and Mark Wood. They played a smart game. It wasn't just crash, bang, wallop. They used the brain. And, I do think this England side has pretty much everything covered. I don't think the bowling is where I'd like it to be at. I think India have got a better bowling lineup. I think India will, over the course of the next 2 years, become a very, very powerful batting lineup, because they will play this modern way and they will get to those 375, 400s on a consistent basis. My concern for England would be the bowling. I think they've got a way to go in terms of bowling on these kind of wickets to get them out of trouble. If the batters don't arrive and play well and get beyond that par, if they have an off day, I just don't think the England bowlers will get them out of the hole. So that's England's kind of perspective. They play that fashion. I'm with you, Gautam. I think they have to play different styles to be world champions in 2 years. They had to do that in 2019. But I have to say, they're entertaining. It's a team that I sit back and smile and watch and think, well, it might come unstuck every now and again, and it has in this series. But it's entertaining stuff.
Yeah, as I said, we were on Cricbuzz Combox, Joy, Michael and me, and I was referring to keeping a close eye on the Bahrain Grand Prix that was going on parallelly. And there was a reference to a couple of young rookie drivers who are very good when they drive. They're very speedy, very entertaining, but they don't necessarily go and win those races. And I think that's what happened to England today. You saw the consistency on that innings progression, but problem is they'd lost 7 wickets by over number 31.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what is remarkable, though, is that from 168 odd for 6, that they took it to 322 is a testament to the kind of batting side that they are, and to Sam Curran, because I thought he's played a fantastic innings. Again, what I loved about him was that towards the end, you looked at it and you saw some of the runs that he was refusing, and you're wondering that, is he letting it off too late? He wasn't, because he took his chances to go right up to 14 in the last over. And with the kind of way he was striking the ball, to be facing 14 to get the last over was an acceptable distance. He actually got it to a position where England could win the game. And he did it without taking too many risks before that. And I thought that was very, very smart batting. So he chose to take his risks in the last over. It didn't come off, might not have, that's fine. But he gave England a chance to win. And again, I want to say one more thing. Just again, suppose he had hit one of those balls for a 6 and had become, a super over, or India won by 1 run. Just hark yourself back to Gautam.
TLBW.
Absolutely. Let's go back again there.
So it happened to Rishabh Pant. It happened to England again. And you could see Mark Wood having a little chat with Virat Kohli. He was given LBW. And whatever the case may be, they actually ran for a single. It should have been a single. It should have been a leg by. As you said, that if it gone to the super over, that 1 run could have made a difference. The 4 to Pant may not have in the context. But today's game, a close game. So rule to be relooked, I think, gentlemen.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's quite an easy one and an understandable one to change quite quickly. I think that's very simple for the ICC to change that rule. I don't know what the conversation between Virat and Mark Wood was, because I've no idea how Virat Kohli would understand Mark Wood's Geordie accent. I don't know why they were even trying to have a conversation, because they wouldn't have been able to understand him.
And apparently I don't understand what Virat says, because Joy thinks I'm a terrible lip reader, and I say he says, come on boys, every time a wicket's taken. So Mark Wood wouldn't understand Virat wouldn't understand Mark Wood. End the story there.
Gautam, you're just letting yourself off easily. You know exactly what Virat was saying, and it wasn't come on lads, guys. I know this is a family show, but he definitely wasn't saying come on lads, boys, let's play well. That's not what he was saying.
Well, I know what he was saying. He was saying we have got the key wicket, Ben Stokes. That's what we've got. We've got the key wicket. Interpret it as you like, folks. It's a family show. I won't say any more. But yes, Ben Stokes was the key wicket, batting at number 3. We saw what he did in the second match, and he didn't do it today. Michael, just to round off this discussion for Team England, as we have a look one more time at what England's batsmen did today, you expressed a worry about England since the 2019 World Cup. They are the champions. They're the defending champions. Have they lived up to that billing?
Well, they're certainly putting 50-over cricket on the back burner. Test cricket and T20 cricket is in the forefront because of the T20 World Cups, and obviously a big year for the Test team. But you only have to look at those results since the 2019 World Cup. Drew in South Africa, only just beat Ireland, lost to Australia, and now have lost to India. So I don't think they'll be overly concerned. It's about peaking at the right times, and they'll want to peak around 2022 going into 2023. You look at this series in particular, there was nothing really from Jos Buttler, and he is such a kingpin for this England 50-over side, and they'll know that when the time's right and it's kind of the impact time for the team to be on it, Jos Buttler will be available and playing well, because you just feel like with Jos Buttler, he's captaining for 2 games. Behind the stumps, making all those decisions. Not easy for a wicketkeeper to then go out and bat, having done that for 50 overs. But he'll get better, obviously, and he'll be, unquestionably better for the 2-game experience of captain. And as I said a couple of shows ago, it wouldn't surprise me at all by 2023 if Buttler is the captain of the 50-over team. 2020 World Cups to go for Harry Morgan this year and next year. And he's already stated that that's his principal kind of thought process at this stage. He'll hope to make 2023, and I hope he does, because he's an outstanding leader. But I just have a sneak suspicion that 2023, the 50-over World Cup, might be just a step too far for him.
Joy, I'll come to you in a moment about Team India's performance and arresting their slide. But Michael, just to finish off on Buttler, do you see him as a natural leader or a slightly reluctant captain? I know it's early days and you're saying he could be the replacement for Owen Morgan, but do you see him as the natural replacement?
Yeah, I think he's very, very like-minded to Owen Morgan. He's not a ranter and raver. I think he sees the game quickly. We know Buttler for being that destructive batsman, and what you wouldn't want is to take that away from him. And I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be absolutely fine if he's given that role in the future. He's just got to sort out that technical side. I mean, you can see with his batting at the minute, his head's falling over to the offside, and that ball that's nipping back, he's looking a very threatening delivery. He's been out bowled LBW on a number of occasions. And he can iron that out. He did it, at the start of last summer. He had a similar problem. He ironed it out, and he played great. So I don't have many concerns about him. I just know that 2 games experience in India captaining will help his memory bank. It's good to keep ticking in the memory bank of what you require. But he's a fantastic cricketer. But to get close to India in their own backyard with no real impact from Joss Butler, it's a decent effort from England.
Yes, he's acknowledged, of course, as he would, the debutants, which I think we've had from both sides, did Joss Butler at post-match. But Joy, the reverse of what England have done, India too didn't have two great series coming in. They'd lost a couple away, as we reminded you earlier, New Zealand away and Australia away as well. So they needed a series win. The last one was at home to Australia. And I think that's something they'll get. It's not a World Cup trophy, but it's a trophy that they'll cherish.
It's a trophy they'll cherish, and this is a format that they've also not been paying too much attention to because they've played a slew of T20 cricket. But I think they've just hit the straps well, and I think what they've done is they did it with one of the most inexperienced bowling sides in Indian one-day international history. You look at that, you look at Prasidh Krishna, he's played 3 matches now. You've got, Natarajan, who's just starting off in the game. You've got Shardul Thakur, who's supposed to be experienced. He's played 15 one-day international matches. That's it, 15 one-day international matches. And you've got Kunal Pandya, who's also very, very new to the sport. So, not new to the sport, but new to international cricket. So, what you have is Bhuvaneshwar Kumar and a lot of inexperienced bowlers coming together for India. And I think that is the true triumph that they've made, that they've somehow managed to cobble together with this an attack to restrict England. Shardul has been fantastic. He's taken wickets, and it's always an interesting one because Shardul his economy rate is never good. He picks up key wickets, but I can quite understand the selector's dilemma when they're picking this. This guy's not, looking as if he's going to take wickets. He bowls full tosses and but he takes wickets. And, you can't teach that, Some guys just have that knack of taking wickets. So Shardul probably, if he looks at the number of wickets he takes, and remember, as run scoring, totals increase in ODI cricket, and totals have increased from the late 180s, 220s to now 350s and 380s. Wicket taking is actually more and more important. So, Shardul's economy rate is probably less important than his ability to take wickets. And you should ask yourself seriously, given the number of wickets he takes, should he not be a more permanent member of this Indian side?
Yeah, you don't exactly want to be Mick Lewis from the Wanderers in 2006 and go for over 100 and have those kind of records. But Michael, yes, if you do pick up wickets regularly, 10, 15 runs extra are always worth that extra wicket.
Yeah, and looking at makeups of teams, I would be looking for wicket takers in this era of white ball cricket. I wouldn't be too concerned if I had a bowler that went at 75 every game but got me 2 or 3 wickets. Because that 75, going at sevens is generally the norm. 6.5 sevens, that's kind of a norm in this era of white ball cricket. I just wonder whether teams will start picking out and out wicket takers. Bowlers that just run in and bowl quick, loads of different kind of change ups, slow balls, bouncers, be really aggressive, set aggressive fields, particularly pace. I think pace is quite an interesting one that. If you've got a bowler in your ranks that can bowl quick, you look at Mark Wood, he's had a great success because he runs in and bowls quickly and unsettles batters because, what you want is a batting unit to start, playing shots that they necessarily wouldn't want to because a bowler gets into their face. Maybe, a bit of chirp. You've got to try something as a bowler in this era of white ball cricket because the balls don't swing, they don't seam, the pitches are roads, the boundaries are quite short. There's not a great deal in your favour. So you might as well try and get into the batsman's space with a little bit of something. So I just wonder whether the next 2 years teams will start looking to see if they've got the type of bowler that could unsettle the opposing batting unit with a bit of pace or skill or variation. Someone that bowls a bag of tricks, just something slightly different to try and get those wickets.
Chirpers. So I'm wondering if we need to have the wicket-keeping mentality, Joy, because as a wicketkeeper, you're chosen on your ability to speak. How many words per minute? Like a good typist, a wicketkeeper's chosen that way. So go by Michael's suggestion. Let's find a bowler who can add a bit of this to his repertoire.
Why are you? And of course, I'm in some ways, I'm actually glad that in the heydays of India-Pakistan cricket in the 70s and 80s, they didn't have stump microphones the way they do now. Because those were not commentaries. They were literally sagas by themselves. And, it's crazy. But yeah, you need to do something different. Coming back to Michael's point, you need to do something different because that's the point. If bats are so good, and because of playing a lot of T20 cricket, people are just better and better at striking the ball hard. then the wicket becomes even more important. Somehow that value. So, restricting somebody and winning matches is not happening that often. You're winning matches because you're taking wickets and the team can no longer chase. That's the reason you're winning it. And somehow you're getting to the tail where somebody like a really good fast bowler can really threaten, which is why Mark Wood, the moment India started collapsing, Mark Wood became extremely useful. Mark Wood, maybe a Rohit Sharma or somebody of the quality of, the top order batsman, Virat, Rohit, they'd play him well. But, for Bhuvneshwar Kumar to face Mark Wood and hit him out or play him out is not that easy.
Yep, fair enough. And just to wrap up the game today, we'll have a quick check on what Virat Kohli said. Sam Curran, I know before we went on air, Joy, you were whispering that Sam Curran was your man of the match. Well, he is the official man of the match. I personally have always been someone who says has to come from the winning team. But I guess, Michael, you'd have to give him this one for sentimental reasons. Played well, and it was a sinking innings at the end because he acknowledged small periods of the game where he said, Bhuvi's a great bowler, I had to play him out.
Yeah, it must have been a close call between him and Bhuvaneshwar Kumar because he was outstanding once again. But I guess that, I'm with you. You generally do pick a player at the match from the winning side. But when a player in the opposing side that's lost has had such an impact on the game, I think it's quite a nice one to give to Sam Curran. He's obviously only been around the England team for a couple of years, but he's a player across all the formats that we're going to see so much of. And that innings today will give him so much confidence in the future to be, that batter that can come in any situation and get England out of a hole, whether it's in Test cricket, which he did against India a couple of years ago, whether it's T20 cricket and now 50-over cricket. We're seeing a player that knows how to navigate, himself individually and his team out of tricky situations. It's an incredible skill to have and a great mentality. He's one that I always enjoy watching. I enjoy watching many players of this era because they bring so much energy and joy and so much kind of this fearless approach. But Sam Curran always makes things happen. Whatever he's doing, he makes the game tick.
Yeah, he made it tick in the yellow jersey as well, not in the Tour de France for the Chennai Super Kings. He did well, did Sam Curran. But a consolation prize for Man of the Series as well, Joy. Johnny Bairstow. Again, a member of the losing side. So it just shows that England have produced individual brilliance, but they finished on the wrong side of the result.
I can't agree with Johnny Bairstow. I cannot agree with Johnny Bairstow. Not because Johnny Bairstow hasn't been fantastic, because he has. But there are other batsmen who've been good as well. And the difference between Johnny Bairstow and the other batsmen has not been close to being as much as the difference between Bhuvneshwar Kumar and the rest of the bowlers. Bhuvneshwar Kumar was a head and shoulders above the rest of the bowlers. So, that difference, I think Johnny Bairstow would consider himself lucky. I think this is, the time for amity. Everyone's over. India's got the trophy. Let's give it to Johnny Bairstow. But I look at this particular man of the series. This is a consolation prize. Bhuvneshwar Kumar should look in his locker and say, that one should have been in my locker.
Yeah, it is one of those things. Michael, your take on that? You would have given it to Bhuvi as well?
Gautam, they've got that wrong. Who's voted for that? It's got to be a group of batters, ex-batsmen that voted for Bhuvneshwar Kumar on 3 flat wickets. As I said before, we've been talking 375, 400 should have been scored. And you've got this 80 miles an hour seamer just manoeuvring it either way, getting wickets, going at less than 4s. I'm afraid they've got that one wrong in my eyes.
It couldn't be the commentary team, Joy, surely, because that's packed with bowlers. Graham Swan, Dominic Cork, Murali Kartik, Lakshman Shivaramakrishnan, and it's just Deep and Sunny ganging up against the rest.
No, I cannot understand what would have happened out here other than the fact that England has played fantastically in the series and they deserve to go with something bit more than losing all 3 formats. So it's something like that. Okay, here the man of the series is yours, but yeah, I don't agree with that either. Even if that's the spirit in which it was given, I think Bhuvneshwar Kumar was a deserving candidate. Having said that, Johnny Bairstow's played really well, and since he's going to walk right into Sunrisers bio bubble out there, Bhuvneshwar will get to see the trophy when the Hyderabad dressing room together. So yeah, I can't see a problem with that. He'll get enough.
There you go. I didn't think of it. I mentioned it a few moments ago. two contenders for the man of the series, both from the same franchise. So look out, Johnny Bairstow. If you keep it in that locker room, it's not going to be in Hyderabad because they're going to be playing away. So look out for it. It might just disappear one fine evening. But Virat Kohli, just to finish off, again, missed out. Let's not harp too much on the number of days, 490 and counting. But I think, Michael, he'll swap that 100 anytime for a series win.
Yeah, absolutely. He'd be pleased that his team have got the series win. He'll want 100. He's now got an IPL. It's difficult to get T20 100s, but I'm sure he'll come close. He's going to open the batting for the RCB. It's not an international 100, so those days will go further and further. I can't wait to see Virat in England, in the summer. I've said before, this Indian side, unless they're tired and they're mentally a little bit drained because they've obviously been in bio bubbles, they've been to Australia, now they've played England, now they've got the IPL, and then they come to England. If they can arrive in England with a strong mentality and somehow be fresh and with a real clear game plan, they are a team that can beat England in their own backyard without question. They've got the seamers, they've got the batters, they've got the spinners, they've got Rishabh Pant. We know the Duke ball moves around. It's just, can they get enough runs against the swinging ball? That'll be the challenge for India. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Virat again bat against the likes of Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Ball, the Duke ball. And I'm sure you'll see a little bit of grass on the pitch. I'm sure there'll be some kind of green stuff that he'll have to come up against. I don't think it'll be dusty. But I can't wait for that series to start. I know there's a lot of cricket between now and then, but I can't wait to see Virat playing against the likes of Anderson and Broad here in England.
Should be a cracker. He'll have to play against a few Kiwis before that in Southampton, and once he's finished with the IPL. But Virat has acknowledged, Joy, that he felt Shardul and Bhuvi should have been contenders for man of the match and man of the series, respectively. Normally he doesn't come out and say stuff like that, but obviously he says it because he means it.
Absolutely. And if there's any award I would give to Virat as ever, which every series I give to him, he's definitely the most expressive player on the pitch. I mean, it's worth the ticket of admission alone to see the cameras focusing him on his reactions, every drop catch, every misfield or every catch. The way Virat reacts is just absolutely fantastic. And I love the way
Joy, Virat and expressive.
But I also love the way he took the catch and how quickly he was back on his feet. I mean, that is one thing that he's brought to the Indian team, the athleticism that he brings to the team. Of course, the other side of it is that today, as they are all saying that, Hardik Pandya, probably his wife won't be having the baby too early because she'll say, today your hands are not very safe today. Let me handle the baby today, because really, I mean, Hardik Pandya dropping 2 catches in a one-day international match, one of them an absolute sitter. How often would that happen? What are the odds on that?
Joy, only you could come up with something like that. Here I am wondering, you've got Hardik Pandya, family, where are you going with this? And he says, don't give him the baby tonight. He cannot catch a thing, can Hardik Pandya, can't catch a cold even in COVID times. Well, there you go. Hardik Pandya, maybe I won't go there. Maybe I won't quite go there. But I could see what you were talking about in terms of the fielding. But Virat Kohli, he can catch anything. He could catch anything with that catch he took today. And Michael, to finish off on Kohli and Team India, he promised they'd bring the A game, and they certainly did, however close it might have been.
Yeah, that wasn't India's A game, though. I think it was...
let me correct that. A for attitude game.
Yeah, it was. I think, they've won the series, they've played well. If they want to win the World Cup in 2 years' time, you've also got to assess where it can be more aggressive. And I think, I've spoken about the fielding. The fielding is not good enough. For a team that moves so well and is fit, you have to pass these fitness levels to get into a Virat Kohli team. They drop too many balls. The bowling has been very, very good. I've been really impressed, particularly with the seam bowlers. Clearly, they're going to get the likes of Jadeja back in, Bumrah back in. Chahal, I'm sure, will come back in over the course of the next 2 years. But India look like they could be a real powerhouse in white ball cricket if they get their right kind of pieces in the right places and they get this attitude driven forward, which I'm sure they will through Virat's mentality. But also to be honest and say, right, okay, we've won 2-1 against a really good England side, but we could have also played better. That's what really good teams do. They assess when they've won, and they're actually harsher when they've won than when they've lost. when you lose, you kind of paper over and go right in the next game. I think it's important that when you win, you look at where you could have improved. And if Virat's not in that dressing room saying, lads, we got away with that. We got away with that. We can't turn up and field like that. We've got to be better in the field, because realistically, they should have won by 100 runs today. That's me being a little bit harsh, I guess. But if you want to be a fantastic team, I think now's the time to be a bit harsh in the group and a little bit of honesty about the fielding.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair way to assess India's performance, Joy, really to sum things up by saying, yes, you may have won, yes, you may have got the trophy, but don't forget the areas that need improvement. Though I suspect with the IPL coming up, Joy, he'll tell Hardik, look, you can keep your fielding up like that for the next 2 months. Just get it back in time for Southampton.
Yeah, I mean, Ravi Shastri would be saying, I've had 7 months, 8 months of continuous cricket. Don't make me stand up in the dugout anymore, because he finally, so far, throughout this series, he kept his cool, he sat down. Finally, in this match, after this, I think the third drop catch, he stood up. He couldn't sit down anymore. So he's probably going to tell them, guys, don't do that to me anymore. I've just had enough.
He stood up. He's already in the car. He's already down the highway, heading to Alibag already. The bubble's gone, says Ravi Shastri. He's ready to celebrate with a nice glass of water. Yeah, absolutely. That's what he'll do. But the one stat we'll leave you all with is the one that we keep bringing to you. But when it's vindicated, we throw it to you one more time. Have a look at everything in blue. That's what India have won. What happens there? Don't lose wickets in the first 10 overs. And when you bowl, you take a wicket or 2 wickets in those first 10 overs. They tick both the boxes today, won the match, won the series. Very simple. Cricket's an easy game.
Yeah, I guess so. Those stats don't lie. I think sometimes stats over 2 or 3 games, there's no real trends. But when it's over a period like that, it's a clear message. But I think it's important that the opening partnerships don't look at that and think, we've just got to play in our shell to make sure that we don't lose wickets. I thought their mindset in the first 10 was excellent. Vaughan came out and struck it to the boundary beautifully. And I really enjoyed the style and approach of the Indian innings, particularly Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya. When they were under pressure, they could easily have kind of just knocked it around, but they went for it, particularly against the likes of Moeen Ali, Adil Rashid. And that is what they have to take forward over the course of the next 2 years. They are a team that they could easily get 450 in a one-day game, no question. If they get it right and they get that Rohit Sharma flying at the top on the wickets that you kind of get in India, no question they could get big scores.
That's the easy part of cricket. What is the tough part of cricket as we wrap up on the eve of Holi in many parts of India? It's Dole if you happen to be in Bengal. Whether or not people are celebrating, it doesn't matter. In our hearts, we've still got our colorful shirts on, at least some of us do. But the hard part of cricket is when you have Joy Bhattacharjya in front of you throwing tough questions. Even though today, for some people, it may be a little bit easier, like myself, but not for everyone, Joy. Give us the question and the answer. Okay,
here's the question. There's Holi and celebrating all parts of India today and tomorrow. Which Indian cricketer played his final test during Holi and was also man of the match in that game? Okay, and Gautam, you're going to give us the answer.
I'd be happy to give you the answer because I was there. It was an interesting test match for more reasons than one. The answer is Sunil Gavaskar, 1987 versus Pakistan at Bengaluru. It was a week after my board exams. I had gone there to watch that game as a special treat because the results hadn't come out. So before you know the results, you can quickly sneak in that special treat. And I went there, and it was not just about Sunil Gavaskar making that 96, one of the greatest innings ever played in Test match cricket. But it was also day 4 of the Test match happened to be Holi. And we all went out there, and it was special because the Pakistan team was swamped by the Indian team. They were taken to the Taj West End pool. They were dunked in there, and everybody had a fantastic Holi party over there. It was a big bill that was sent, I believe, later to the BCCI, but they were more than happy to foot that because it was India-Pakistan camaraderie at its absolute best, Joy, I can promise you. And I believe we have one little image just to confirm that. Have a look at that.
Oh, now I'm just wondering who is more embarrassed by that picture. Is it Wasim Akram or is it Gautam Bhimani? I know the second time this happened because that's the time you faced Wasim Akram in the nets, and that didn't go too well. But that Wasim Akram out there,
Yeah, if you give Waz a choice, he'd take the picture on the right, Michael. But
Great times. Did you interest, Gautam? Did you watch every single game? Every game in the 80s that India played? You seem to be at them all. You were at the 84-85 one that England.
I was there in the dark in Cuttack, shining my light and opposite Mrs. Fowler. And I did, yeah, without trying to give away my age. All I can say is I wasn't working then, but I was soaking in the game as a prelude to another couple of decades of working on the game. So let's not get into how old I possibly might be or might not be. But let's not digress. Let's get our winner. Let's get our winner before Michael and Joy start about that. Mukul, well done. MV Lokhande 99. I'm so glad we have a new winner. Obviously, he's from our era and whatever that means. And he probably was watching the match. He was probably watching the match in 1987. But yeah, what an innings it was from Sunil Gavaskar. Most people reckon he made many, many hundreds. But that 96 or lack of 100 was probably his best. Before we say goodbye, let's remind you, in a few days' time, we're all going to be back. Joy, Michael, myself, Gaurav, Ajay Jadeja, Pommy Mbangwa, Simon Dool, Lisa Staliker, Harsha Bhogle. It's a long list, and I'm sure we'll add a few more names to that list. It's going to be lots and lots of fun for IPL 2021. It all starts on the 9th of April. It's going to be RCB versus MI. Virat will hope that Hardik Pandya is still not taking catches then, but we'll look forward to the first one. We look forward to a curtain raiser on the 8th of April with Gaurav Kapoor, Joy Bhattacharjya and Harsha Bhogle, and so much more to come for the next couple of months. Michael, get set for it. It's not going to be 7 o'clock in the morning for you. We'll give you much better times to work with. Yeah,
can't wait. Well done, everyone. I think this last month and a half watching the test, the 2020s and the 50-overs, it's been fantastic. In India have been great. They deserve to win, but also proud of England. They've put up a decent show. Mumbai Indians, they're going to win it. I'll tell you that now.
Fair enough. What a bold prediction from Michael Vaughan. He says Mumbai Indians might just win it. Well done. We'll leave you, Michael, to go and clean up your backyard now. You've been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. Joy, thank you as well. We'll leave you to all the books behind you and to get some reading done before the IPL. To all of you, thank you so much for watching. It's been a wonderful series. We'll see you in a few days' time. This is Cricbuzz Live, signing off.